My name's Brandon Henrie. I'm a retirement planning advisor for URS. I'm located out of St. George office, and I am your rep for URS. And today we'll go through financial wellness basics. We'll talk a little bit about how if you want an appointment, how you can schedule one of those appointments, and then spoke with Whitney, and I'll come back and do a retirement presentation maybe in August or something is what we talked about. So I like to keep it pretty informal, so if you have any questions or comments, feel free to jump in anytime here. So what is financial wellness? So basically financial wellness is the ability to control your finances and not have your finances control you. So managing your economic life, making sure that you're not too far deep in debt that your money's controlling you. Pretty much that sums up, financial wellness is being able to manage your finances successfully and eliminate some of that financial stress. Why do we want to eliminate financial stress? So financial stress can lead to a lot of problems. So on average, employers lose about 11 days to lost productivity to financial stress by their employees. We come to work, we're stressed with our finances, it's hard to focus, maybe 3 or 4 hours get away from us throughout the day because we're worried about our finances. If we can have less stress in our life, we can be a little bit more productive, maybe work's actually a little bit happier. We're a little bit happier at work, and everybody wants to be a little bit happier at work. Can cause overeating. When we have financial stress, we reach for the Twinkies. I know I do. I call the pizza guy. He knows me very well. Substance abuse. We find that financial stress not only can lead to additional substance abuse, but we've also found that those that have quit smoking when they have financial stress are more likely to relapse and start smoking again. So it can lead to all sorts of things. Financial stress in relationships. We know that's always a big part of relationships is finances, working together on finances. Going through a divorce can wipe out approximately 77% of your net worth. So it's not just 50% of your net worth, but 3/4 of your net worth. And then other things stress can lead to. We don't focus. Maybe that causes a car accident. We're worried about money. We're not paying attention. That person in front of us slams on the brakes. We rear end them. Depression and other health problems. So it's just stress. Finances is stressful. Finances are stressful. And the more we have to worry about those, the more it can lead to health problems and other problems. So what are financial wellness basics? So if you meet with us one-on-one, we have appointments virtually, we have them in person, but these are kind of the 3 areas that we focus on. So we focus on debt. We want to make sure that you're not too far in debt with high interest rate credit card type debts. And if you are, let's put together a plan that helps you kind of get out of that debt, save not only interest and money, but also time. We look at spending. So a lot of times we talk about budgets. Nobody likes to hear that dirty word. Nobody wants to put a budget together. So let's call it a spending plan. How much can I spend a month and keep within that budget or within that spending plan? Am I overspending? And then emergency savings. How much do I need? Do I need 3 months? Do I need 6 months? Do I need $1,000? What do I need in emergency savings? Spending plan, if you meet with us, there's a little homework you do, and basically we kind of analyze your spending plan. And you can do this without meeting with us, but there's lots of different budget tools out there. But basically we're looking at incoming cash and outgoing cash, looking at our cash flow. Are we overspending? Are we spending too much on wants and not enough needs? Do we not have enough month at the end of the money? So are we running out of money for the next pay period? We want to make sure we're focusing on needs first. We want to make sure we got all those needs covered before we focus on wants. And then saving for something in the future, whether that's retirement, whether that's the new boat that you want, vacation home. Always good to put a little bit away in savings as well. Here's just kind of an example of a simple spending plan. Is basically it's just money in and money out. And then we want to look at that final number and are we working within our budget, within our spending plan? or are we overspending? So for example, I met with a guy the other day, was overspending by $2,000 a month, and he didn't understand why he was $56,000 in credit card debt. He didn't believe me that he was spending $2,000 overspending, so he was spending $2,000 more a month than what he was bringing in. Had him put all his information in, he entered it, not me, and when I showed him, he was surprised that he was overspending by $2,000 a month. It showed in his credit card debt, so they would easily reach for their credit card debt. He's 55 years old, has $56,000 in debt, and wants to retire soon. That can definitely be a stress on retirement. So important to look at your spending plan. Anybody have an answer for this? So, close. Anybody else? 6,200. So, average American has about $6,200 on a credit card. And that's not even the scary part. The average American has about 4 credit cards. So that's about $25,000, $26,000 in debt. Not everybody's average. Obviously, people have a lot less than that. The guy I talked to had about double that in credit cards. So that's where people get into financial stress, is they've got so much credit card debt. Those interest rates are very high. It's really hard to pay those down and get that paid off in a short amount of time. And that's what the credit cards are there for. They want to get you. It's easy, it's simple. I even notice now when you shop online, there's a little button that says, do you want to pay for this for 6 months? You want to buy this t-shirt and pay $3 a month for 6 months. So they're figuring out ways to get you to spend money that you don't have. But not all debt is bad. So there is good debt out there. We want to be able to tie debt to appreciating assets. So usually our home is one of our biggest financial assets. So not a bad thing to have a mortgage because we're investing in an appreciating asset. Usually, hopefully we don't see a 2008, 2009, but most of the time real estate is an appreciating asset. Student loans, if we use those wisely, student loans can enhance our earning power. That's an investment in our future. A car, some people say, well, that's not an investment. That's a depreciating asset. But if that car gets us to our job where we have earning power, that's a pretty good investment. What we probably don't want to do is go out and buy the Maserati to get to the job if that's not part of our income, if that's over our income. But a car can also be a good investment. The bad debt usually is the credit card debt. So this is the high interest rate debt. This is where it's really hard to pay that off in a short amount of time if you're not on top of it, and it can really compound. Einstein's been credited with basically saying compound interest is one of the most powerful forces in the world. Those that understand it earn it, those that don't pay it. That's kind of what the credit cards have done for us, is they've been able to get us into that interest, and it just keeps compounding until we're in over our head. Again, we just want to make sure we're trying to tie debt to appreciating assets and not just to things that are going to go to waste or going to go away really easy, depreciating assets. And we want to make sure that we're paying ourselves first. We're not paying the credit card. So when I worked as an Edward Jones rep here in Cedar a long time ago, and one thing we did is we had to go and knock on businesses and try to drum up business from business owners. And I knocked on the door of one of these payday lenders. Has anybody ever seen how much interest they charge for a payday loan? Any guesses?
20%.
How much?
20%.
Okay.
100%.
How much?
300.
Yeah, 300 to 400%. And these usually are short-term loans, 5 or 6 weeks maybe. But just think of someone who maybe borrowed $1,000 for a year and they have to pay back $4,000 or $5,000 to that interest. It's pretty crazy. Fundamentals of debt reduction. So always want to make sure you pay your debt payments on time, because those credit card companies will get you with fees. Sometimes they'll raise your interest rate. Some of the consumer financial protection bureaus have kind of tried to put some halts to some of this. but they'll get you. If you miss payments, you're going to get late fees, you're going to get increased interest. Whenever possible, negotiate with your credit card companies. See if they'll give you a lower rate. Sometimes if you threaten to go move your debt to another company, they'll lower the rate for you. We're going to talk a little bit about some strategies to pay off your debt. Anybody familiar with Dave Ramsey? Talks a little bit about the snowball method, the avalanche method. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. So paying on time, paying more than your minimum payment. So if you have extra money, apply that to your credit cards. That's definitely going to pay down that interest a whole lot faster. Okay, so there's kind of two methods out there that you can use to pay off your debt, to kind of save time and interest, so time and money. One is called the debt avalanche. And this is, when we meet with you, this is generally the method that we use to show you how to pay off your credit card debt. And basically what you're doing is you're going to choose the debt that has the biggest interest rate to pay off first. So for example, here we have credit card number 1 has an interest rate of 22%, and then our mortgage is our lowest interest. And we have interest rates in there that range from several different interest rates from high to low. And the goal is we focus on debt number 1 because that's the highest interest rate. So we make the minimum payments for the rest of those debts, put as much as we can to debt number 1. Once we pay off debt number 1, we move to the second debt that has the highest interest rate, so credit card number 2. So I'm going to take that $100 I was paying towards debt number 1, apply that to credit card number 2 to my minimum payment that I was paying. Now I'm paying $135 towards credit card number 2. Once I have that paid off, I add that $135 to the next payment, and then we start paying down loans even faster. So I'm not taking that and getting back into debt, but I'm using, when I paid off one debt, I'm taking that money and applying it to the second debt. The avalanche method, in theory, is supposed to save you the most interest. So basically, if we pay down the highest interest rate debt first, in theory, it's supposed to save you mathematically the most interest. Dave Ramsey talks a lot about the debt snowball. This is one that most people have probably heard about. He switches it around a little bit, and he tells you to pay off the lowest balance first. So not necessarily the highest interest rate, but the lowest balance. So in this case, kind of in the same order, but we don't have an interest rate. We have an outstanding balance. So credit card number 1, our lowest balance at $500. Mortgage is our biggest, $237. So I knock out the lowest debt first. Anybody have any idea why I would do this? Yep, exactly. And that's kind of financial behavioral finance, is get a win in your column. Pay off that lowest balance first. You feel good, even though it's not your highest interest rate. You got a win in your column. That gives you a little bit momentum. You move to the next lowest one. You pay that one off. You feel good, and that just keeps giving you some momentum to keep going. Where like you mentioned, if my highest interest rate is my biggest balance, and it's going to take me 5 years, I'm probably going to lose a little momentum, a little motivation. But if I can get a win, that gives me a little bit of a momentum. I can pay something off maybe in 4 or 5 months, move to the next one. I've got momentum on my side, and it's going. A lot of times when we run these side by side, there's not a lot of difference in how much interest is saved. So go with the method that works best for you. So if you like the idea of getting that win, feeling good, having some motivation, go with the snowball. For those that are engineers and like the exact math, maybe the avalanche is the better method. You save maybe a little bit in interest that way. I've seen the power of these methods. So I talked about the guy that was $56,000 in credit card debt. He was on track to pay that off in 30 years. And really $20,000 in interest or more. And he was looking to retire in 3 or 4 years. And so that could cause a huge financial stress in retirement. Generally in retirement, we're making a little bit less money. We're on maybe a little bit of a fixed income, so it's harder to pay those bills. just by rearranging the way he was paying things and how he was applying his payment, we saved him about 15 years and about $16,000 in interest. That means that he can be out of debt pretty close to retirement time and save tens of thousands of dollars of interest. So it's just a matter of applying these methods to your debt. All right, another quiz here.
28.
41.
Jane nailed it, 41. So more than half of the people out there could not cover a $1,000 emergency. So if we think about the refrigerator going out, the stove going out, what do we have to do? We have to reach for that credit card. So important to have some emergency savings as well. So not to always go back to Dave Ramsey, but he always says, have at least $1,000 even before you start paying off your debt. Have $1,000 in an emergency. That way you don't have to reach for the credit card for everything. So you have that buffer. The fridge goes out, the tire goes out on the car, or have some type of repair. I've got a little bit of a buffer there. I don't have to put that back on my credit card. So emergency savings, how much should I have in emergency savings? So we talked a little bit about at least have $1,000 right off the bat. Once you have $1,000 in there, then you can change your priority. Do I want to pay off debt first? Do I want to save an emergency fund? Do I want to focus on my budget? So that it kind of comes down to what your priority is. When we talk about 3 to 6 months of income, this is your needs, basically. You need at least 3 to 6 months of your needs, of your bills. We need the mortgage payment, the insurance premiums, the food, gas. These are everything except the wants, the things that we don't need. And what determines whether I need 3 or 6 months worth of income? So if you're in a 2-income household, if both of you are making an income, maybe you don't need 6 months. If one of you lost your job, maybe that would be okay. You have some savings, you have 3 months, that gets you back on your feet. If you're in a single earner house, maybe 6 months is needed. Maybe it's going to take a little bit of time to get another job. Maybe there's a huge emergency. It's good to have a little bit more in there. Another thing to look at is what's the specialization of your job. Are you in a career that if you lost that career, it would take maybe a year to find a job in that same career? You know, if I'm a nuclear physicist, I can't just go down to the local store and get hired. But if I can find a similar job with the same income, maybe I don't need quite 6 months in there. But just kind of think about job and what you want to replace that with. Put this somewhere safe and accessible. Don't mix it in with your checking account or your regular savings account. Keep it separate. Separate, but be able to access that. If I put it in my checking account, it's going to be easy to just swipe that debit card and then think, oh, I'll replace that later. But if I have it in a specialized account, then I know that I'm not going to just reach for the debit card and spend that.
I have a side comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I actually went and got a savings account at a separate bank from my checking account. So I have to physically go to the bank to reach my savings, which means it stays in my savings.
Great idea. Yep.
And it actually worked.
So that's a great way to do it, because it's so easy nowadays with online banking to even transfer it from one savings account to another within the same bank. So it's easy to say, I want to go to that concert. I'll take a little bit out of my savings account, my emergency savings, and use that. But that's a great example. I put it somewhere else where it's a little bit harder to get to that. But still, if I need it, it's easy to get to, basically. Anybody else have any questions? No? Okay. Other savings, other types of savings. So not only should we have an emergency fund, but we want to save for goals, for the fun stuff. So whether this is retirement, whether this is a house, a car, or a trip, always good to make room in your budget to save for those things that you want to do as well. Anytime your employer offers any type of benefits to you that you can take take advantage of, make sure you do that. So if your employer offers some type of match for your retirement account, take that. That's free money. You put in the match, they're putting free money into your account. automate your savings. So that's pretty easy to do nowadays with online banking. Is I can have so much taken out of my bank account and put into a brokerage or into a separate bank account. I can have so much taken out of my paycheck and put into my retirement account. And then just make sure you allocate that and spread that and diversify that. With URS, those that are part of URS, we offered several different types of retirement accounts that you can invest your money in for retirement. We have the 401k, the 457, the traditional IRA, and the Roth IRA. And these are just accounts that you can save for retirement. The first three are tax-deferred accounts, which means that any dollar I put in one of those accounts, I get a tax benefit now. However, when I pull that out when I retire, I'm going to pay taxes on that. Where the Roth is just the opposite. I don't get that tax benefit now. However, down the road when I retire, I can pull that out 100% tax-free. All of these accounts are great accounts. It just kind of depends on your goals. If you want tax benefits now, if you want tax benefits later, and you can do all four of them. If you want to put money in all four, you can do that. Get some tax benefits now, some tax benefits later, so you have all sorts of options there. And then just talk about progress to meet goals. Just make sure you're kind of staying accountable to your spending plan. That's definitely going to help you. If there's any actions needed, if you meet with us, we'll go through that spending plan. We'll look at areas that you might be able to cut. If you want to meet with us again 6 months, a year later, and look at the progress, you can do that. These are all free, all part of your benefits with URS. And then the financial wellness sessions. We'll talk a little bit about how you can get one of those appointments. But let's just talk a little bit about some different scenarios. So everybody's at different stages in their life. So here we have John. He's young, maybe recently married, recent family, not too far out of college. Chances are someone in this stage of life is going to have some debt. They're probably going to have potentially some student loan debt, credit card debt, getting through school, car loans. They're starting a family. Income's probably spread pretty thin. He's overspending by $100 a month, so he needs to get his spending plan under control. Doesn't have a lot in savings. This is pretty common for someone at this stage in life. They're paying the bills. They don't have a lot. Income's generally a little bit lower when you start out in a career. But he has goal. You know, he has some goals. He wants to pay down debt, and he wants to start building in that emergency savings. So someone in this stage, this would be similar goals that they might have. As opposed to someone maybe later in their career. Maybe they don't have a lot of debt, maybe just a mortgage, maybe a small car payment. They're not overspending. They've got a little bit extra cash per month. They might have different goals. Maybe they're in the stage of life where retirement's getting closer and that's their primary focus. So they're going to focus on not only an emergency savings, but saving for retirement as well. And then just to talk about those financial wellness sessions, this is where we'll sit down with you one-on-one, whether that's in person or virtually. There's 14 of us that can meet with you. And you guys are welcome to book one of these appointments. You just log into your URS account. Once you're logged in, there's a tab that says Education. Once you click on that tab, you'll see the financial wellness one-on-one sessions. There's a little bit of homework to do where you enter in your financial information, and then when you meet with us, we'll go primarily through those three things. We'll go through a spending plan, we'll go through debt management, and we'll go through savings as well. But if you have other financial questions, book one of these appointments. Recently I met with young couple that they just didn't understand a house payment. They wanted to buy a house. They didn't understand how much they're going to pay for that house. They had a certain level of income. They had an idea of what they wanted to spend for a house, and they just needed some help figuring out what a mortgage would be. We've got some calculators that we can run and kind of show you what a mortgage payment would be. Life insurance, if you're thinking of getting life insurance, we can show you approximately how much you might need in life insurance. The information that you enter in for the financial wellness program, we're going to put in your income, put in your monthly expenses. Doesn't have to be perfect. Some people say, well, some months I spend $30 on a certain thing, some months I don't. Just average it out over a year. It doesn't have to be perfect. With your debts, what we do like you to put in is the exact amount of your debts and the interest rate. That way we can show you how to pay those off and save the most interest rate. And then any savings that you have as well. And then just to show you that you do have access to some financial wellness calculators. So once you log into your URS account, there's the calculator tab, and then there's the financial wellness calculators. There's 4 different topics there, and under each of those topics, there's probably 5 or 6 different calculators. And these are here for you guys to use. And then our website, anybody can go on our website. You don't have to log in, and there's all sorts of different information on there. We do presentations all over, seminars. There's lots of different videos on our website. So if you want to go learn about retirement or financial wellness, anybody can join our seminars. There's different topics on there as far as white papers and different things talking about financial wellness as well. So. And then financial freedom. Again, just kind of going back, similar to financial wellness, financial freedom is just being able to control your money and your money not controlling you, and you being able to do the things you want without that financial stress. And so that's kind of what our financial wellness program's about, is just any way we can help relieve any type of financial stress. We'll work with you, because less financial stress, the happier you're going to be. All right, that's all I have. Any questions?